Good afternoon to our audience in the US and good evening to our audience across the African continent. Welcome. Here is today's news wrap and update for August 21st, 2024. The US government announced that it will provide an additional $35 million to help fight and combat the spread of the Mpox virus in East and Central Africa. The fund will be provided pending congressional approval. It will be provided through the U.S. Uh, through the U.S. Agency for International Development, and the agency will work with local and global partners that are working on the ground in East and Central Africa to help vaccinate as well as combat and aid in the response to the Mpox outbreak in the region. Now, other governments, including Japan and the European Union, also have committed pledge that they will provide either funding or additional vaccine to help combat the spread of the Mpox virus beyond where it currently is. So far, 12 countries across the African continent currently have reported cases right now. And as we know, the CDC and the World Health Organization have declared it respectively as continental emergency and global health emergency. So the response from the U.S. government, the EU, as well as Japan, they have pledged to help contain the spread of the Mpox virus. There have been two additional reports outside of the region. One case has been reported in Sweden, as well as another case that was reported this week in Thailand from an African traveler that traveled to the region. The U.S. agency, the UN International Organization for Migration, the Director General, Amy Pope, also called for an addition for $18.5 million to provide health care services to migrants and displaced migrants that are in Southern Africa, as well as in the East on African region. That this will provide humanitarian healthcare that is needed to contain the spread of the Mpox virus. And she said this is a grave concern, especially for vulnerable migrants that were in those areas. And she said we must act swiftly to protect those at the highest risk. Another news that we are paying closer attention to in the region. Yesterday at the UN Security Council, leaders call on Libya. As we know, earlier this week we provided news update on the abduction of a senior official of the Libya Central Bank that was adopted over the weekend, but was returned, and the bank resumed operation on Monday. So the UN Security Council leader, including the U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, call on Libya government and other stakeholders and partners in the region to urge the government to develop a credible plan to hold an election to a credible plan for a free and fair national election, according that is stated in the resolution, the UN Security Resolution 2702. The ambassador, in our remarks, said is deeply concerning over the dispute of the Central Bank of Libya and attempt to replace the bank governor risk endangering Libya standing in the global financial market. She urged her side to de-escalate and reform and return to the negotiating table. The other news that in the region that we are paying closer attention to, the ongoing peace talk regarding the war in Sudan and the humanitarian situation in South Sudan. There is an ongoing talk in Switzerland right now with leaders including the U.S. envoy for the Horn of Africa that have been there talking with partners to ensure to bring about a peace and end to the ongoing crisis, humanitarian crisis and war in Sudan. So, for the first time in several months, trucks were allowed to enter into Darfur to provide um, life-saving humanitarian aid to people that have been displaced and those Sudanese that stay in the region. So the ambassador to the UN ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield said this is very promising and she's glad that the agreements they allow for the humanitarian, the UN aid trucks to enter into the region to provide life savings humanitarian assistance to those that are in need.
Humanitarian response amidst growing needs and rising violence means that millions of Haitians are missing out on the essential support they need. Stepped up and sustained funding is needed to stem the deepening humanitarian crisis in the country. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us that displacement has nearly tripled in the last 12 months, with more than 578,000 people having fled their homes in search of safety. Half of the newly displaced escaped the capital, Port-au-Prince, to the southern part of the country. Some 5 million people, that's half of the population of Haiti, are not getting enough to eat. Many lack access to health care they need, with just 1 in 4 hospitals in the country still functioning. Nearly 1.5 million children have seen their education disrupted over the past school year, while hundreds of thousands of out-of-school children face the risk of being recruited by armed gangs. Our humanitarian colleagues warn that without additional funding, Haiti's humanitarian crisis will grow only more severe. 8 months into the year, the 2024 humanitarian appeal, which calls for 674 million United States dollars, is just over a third funded, with only $227 million.
The U.S. Government, the Treasury Department, announced that is sanctioning the former president of Haiti, Michael Joseph McCarthy, for drug trafficking. It was announced yesterday. Other news that we are paying closer attention to in the region, actually, of all the news, this is good news. The former First Lady of Namibia, Monica Genko, announced that she is now returning to academia as the first chancellor, the inaugural chancellor of the Kepler College in Kigali, Rwanda. The former First Lady is a close friend of the First Lady of the U.S., Dr. Jill Biden, since they met during the U.S. African Leaders Summit in December 2022. They have worked together, and when the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, traveled during her trip last year to Africa, Namibia was one of the countries where she stopped to interact with youth, with women, and regarding development of partnering with the country on various initiatives including for women and girls in Namibia as well as across Africa. So back to the news in the U.S. The President Biden, and I'm speaking of the First Lady Dr. Jill Biden and the President are in California this week today and for the rest of the week. We are just spending time with their family. On Monday, as our audience know, the president and the first lady left the White House to travel to Chicago, where they deliver remarks at the Democratic National Convention on Monday night. The president spoke very powerfully, urging and reminding America what is at stake in this election. And he said, like one of the best decision that the first and the best decision that he made was during his presidency was to pick Vice President Kamala Harris, who he already endorsed for the Democratic ticket, to pick her as a running mate. And he endorsed, also just confirmed that he have faith in her, in an ability to deliver leadership as when elected as president of the U.S. in November, in this upcoming November election. So speaking of the DNC, the 2024 DNC that is taking place right now in Chicago, today is the third day. The last 3 days have been very, very the crowd there have been enthusiastic. The response, the energy, the excitement for what is to come of the Aries was team. And this week, the team unveiled some of their, as we reported, unveiled part of the economic agenda for the Aries ticket. And yesterday, former President Barack Obama and the former First Lady Michelle Obama delivered powerful remarks, as well as the governor of Chicago and other Democratic leaders that spoke on behalf of the vice president, laying the groundwork and laying the case of why she is ready. She's not just ready. That this is something that in the past 3.5 years she's been ready, more than ready to lead the country when she's elected as president of the United States in the upcoming election. So tonight is the third day, as I mentioned, and speaker for tonight include Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, Senator Chris Murphy, Leader Hakeem Jeffrey, and Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, also the former um, House Leader and Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and Maryland Governor Westmore, and Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro. We all deliver remarks tonight, again making the case, laying the case of for the vice president, showcasing that she's more than qualified to lead the country as the president, and with our running mate governor, with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, they are both of them given their experience, given their leadership, as their past leadership, that they have the more than the resume they have delivered for their constituents as well as for America. So they are at this time that their leadership is needed, that they are more than ready to build upon the Biden-Harris administration historic achievements, historic record, and they will continue to lead America, defend American freedom, defend American democracy, and deliver for Americans that are still struggling regarding economic, and deliver for not just for a group of America but for all America, ensuring that the American dream is within reach for as much Americans, as many Americans as possible. So this wrap up tomorrow. The vice president will officially accept, and we formally accept her nomination, and she will deliver remarks tomorrow at the DNC. Tonight, the Governor Tim Watts, the running mate, will introduce himself to the public. As we know, he joined the ticket 2 weeks ago, so while he has been campaigning with the vice president, they were in Milwaukee yesterday, and some of the delegates, some of the country are still don't fully know him. So tonight is an opportunity for him to reintroduce himself and talk about what he has done, how he has delivered for the people of Minnesota, and how he plans to support the vice president as a running mate, as the vice as our vice president to deliver for the American people at this very crucial time in American history and in American democracy. So that wrap up our updates and news. Again, we will bring you updates tomorrow from the DRC convention, and we wish everyone. We hope that you have enjoyed the rest of your afternoon and have a good night. Thank you for watching. I'm Kemi Oshukoya.